Welcome to another video from McFatter Tech Musser. If you like these videos, please click subscribe.
Well, welcome back to the sixth installment in our series of final project videos. If you remember, we've built our routers, we've created a WAN link between them, we've set up DHCP relay, we've got full connectivity between our two subnets, we've got a domain controller in each subnet, we've got a file server in each subnet that's hosting distributed file services, DFS, so that we can replicate user folders. We went ahead and we did that. We created a group policy to redirect user folder locations so that if a server goes down, no big deal. It's distributed across DFS. That folder redirection is. If a computer fails, no big deal. Kick it to the curb, plug a new computer in for the user, have them log in, their group policies apply, their folders get redirected, everything's back, just as if nothing ever changed. Well, how do we go about getting to that point? We need a way to redeploy an image for our users, or maybe to turn up a new server. We're going to install Windows deployment services. That's going to be my final WDS machine. Now I've already created that machine, I've already joined it to the network to give us a little bit of a edge in time-wise. I was thinking, well, if I wanted to be able to deploy an image, I want to make sure that that image is fully patched when I deploy it. So I've added another server to our environment, and that's a WDS, or I'm sorry, that's a WSUS server, a Windows Server Update Services. Another free tool, a role that we can install in our Windows servers. Now, we're going to go through the WDS installation. We're going to look at creating that boot image. It's going to give us access to the WinPE environment across our network. That's a Pixie boot. We'll take a look at doing some captures. I'm going to grab and install image for Windows Server. I'll grab and install image for Windows 10 because we need to be able to deploy desktops too. We'll create a capture image. That's how we can take that, let's say, Windows 10 system with our updates fully installed, maybe an application or two fully installed, and then capture a copy of that image after we've sysprepped it. Then we'll transfer that to our WDS server, and now we'll have a fully configured, quote-unquote, golden image that we can use to deploy for Windows 10. This is how you enable resiliency, because that makes that desktop computer disposable. To be able to update that, though, we need to have the WSUS server, and we're going to integrate that into our Active Directory, and we're going to use group policies to tell the different servers and computers how to get their updates and how to install those updates. For example, you don't want a server to automatically install an update and reboot. It's there to provide a service. Remember, desktop computers are for users to log on to run applications. Servers typically never get logged onto. Servers provide services. It's an important distinction. You should know that by now, right? All right, so let's get to it. We're going to be working on our final WDS. If we take a look over here in our Hyper-V environment, I've got both domain controllers up, both routers are up, our DHCP servers up, and both our WDS and WSUS servers are up. So we're going to go ahead. Let's see, do I already have that open? Yes, I do. It's right here. And you can see there's a service not running. That's that downloaded maps broker. Don't even worry about that. The first thing we need to do, we need to install the WDS role. So we're going to go manage, add roles, and you know what? We're not going to do that. We're going to do it through PowerShell. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to do this from WDS. I'm going to close that. In fact, I'm just going to take it off the screen. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go to our domain controller. And I'm going to run PowerShell as administrator. In fact, you know what? We use PowerShell all the time. I'm going to pin that to my taskbar. So there it is. I'm going to right click and we'll right click on PowerShell. Once we've done this a couple times, it'll show up as an option, run as administrator. There we are. So how do we install a Windows feature? Oh, I just said it. Install -Windows or -Windows feature. Give it a second. There it is. Well, do I want to install it on my domain controller? No. I want to specify a computer name that I'm going to install it for. And what is that computer name? It is final WDS. Oops, there we go. Yep, and I was just double checking something here. I'm doing this backwards. I want to do the specify the feature first, WDS, and then we're going to specify the computer or where we want it installed, and that's final WDS. And we also want to include the management tools. There we are. So install -Windows feature space WDS, the role, space hyphen computer name space the name of the computer, in this case final WDS, space dash include management tools. So now it's going to go ahead and it's going to install that over on WDS. So I need to go back over. I need to get that back open. So we'll come back over here. We'll open that up while that installation's going on. Now I wouldn't, if I had my full network environment, I wouldn't have to connect to the server. I could do this remotely. And now, as you can see, success, true, restart needed, no, exit code, success. So it installed successfully. We're going to go ahead, we're going to connect to our WDS, get logged in. If I go to Tools, I should see Windows Deployment Services. Right there it is. The goal is, once your network environment is fully configured, you don't manage it from the server. You manage it from somewhere else. The first thing we need to do is we need to configure the final configuration. We're gonna do that final setup before we can start using WDS. So I've expanded servers. I'm going to right click on the server name and say configure server. It walks you through the wizard. Understand that if you're doing this, if you're going to integrate with your Active Directory, obviously you need to have a domain controller. You need to have a domain. We need to have a DHCP server on the network. That's because we're going to be using that PXE, the pre-boot execution environment. Now, if you have a computer that doesn't support PXE, maybe it's got an older legacy adapter that doesn't support it for some reason, we can create a discover image, but we're not going to get into that. But understand, that's what you would do if you have a system that you need to deploy and you don't have the ability to network boot. We need to have DNS on our network, and we need to make sure that where we're storing our images is a partition that's been formatted with NTFS. We're going to click Next. We're going to integrate with Active Directory. We're going to specify a path to where we want to install our images. And you know what? I don't want to put it there. Let's take a look under my configuration. I just have a single hard drive. Well, being a virtual machine, you know what? I'm going to create another one. I'm going to say Add. I'm going to call it New, Next, Dynamically Expanding, and I'm going to call it, I'm just going to simply call it Image Storage. It should be pretty self-evident of what it is. Click Next. And I'll let it be that maximum size. There's our setup. There's our new drive. We click OK. Now, it's not ready to use yet. I've got to go to Disk Management. So I right-click my Start button, go to Disk Management. We need to bring it online. We need to initialize it and use that GUID partition table, GPT, to set it up. We're ready to go. We'll right-click. We're New Simple Volume. Next, 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 and I'm going to name it aptly the same, image storage. Next and finish. Should just take a few moments, and there's my drive D. So I can close disk management, and all I need to do is simply change the C to D. So that's where I'm going to be putting my images. Offload your reads and writes to a different drive other than the operating system. Let the server perform on the C drive and nothing else. Next. At this point, we're going to say, you know what? Don't respond to any client computers yet. We'll click Next, and that's it for our preliminary configuration. While that's taking care of its thing, I'm going to use some of the juice that keeps IT running. That's coffee. Love it. Okay. I'm going to uncheck add this images to the server because I'm not quite ready for that. So I'm going to uncheck that and click finish. Our preliminary setup is done. If I expand my server name, I can see I've got a folder for boot images, install images, different places to put things, right? If I'm going to add a boot image, I simply go right click boot images and add boot image. If I want to install an install image, I have to do an install image group first. So I'm going to create two groups. I'm going to do Windows Server, and I'm also going to do an image group for Windows 10. This will help differentiate where your various images are at. You know, maybe you've got configurations for Dell, Lenovo, HP, who knows what. Maybe you've got multiple configurations for a specific laptop or a specific desktop that's used in different environments in your network. Keep order of all your different images. Understand where they're located. I need to be able to get access to my server. So I'm going to go to File, back to Settings. This is for our Hyper-V. And I'm going to add a virtual DVD drive. Remember, this is generation 2 in Hyper-V, so that DVD is not a physical DVD, it's a virtual. Click Add. We're going to locate an image file that we can point to, and right there is our data center eval. So I'm going to go ahead and open that and click OK. Now I can first add the boot image. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to copy them from the DVD to my local storage. So I'm going to open up Windows Explorer, this PC, over to my DVD, into the sources folder. And if you scroll down, there's the first one. There's my boot install image, my boot.wim. I'm going to copy that. Doesn't take very long. Now, where do I want to put it? I'm going to open up a new copy of File Explorer. We're going to navigate to that D drive, and I'm going to make another new folder. I'm going to call it Image Copy. That's where I'm going to put it. And there's my boot.wim. Now, if I scroll down to the eyes, where's it at? There it is, my install.wim. That's got all the binaries for all 4 versions of Windows Server. Remember, it's not too many years ago that if I wanted to install Core Standard, I had to have a DVD for that. If I wanted to install Standard Desktop Experience, I had to have a DVD for that. It's not that long ago we had to have a different medium or media for each one. Not anymore. We're going to copy that, we're going to paste. This will take a little bit longer because obviously it's a little bit bigger file. It's in the gigabits. So, while that copies, and it'll take a few more seconds here, I'm going to go back over here to my Windows deployment services. So, like I said, I've already copied over the boot Well, I can be doing that. So let's right click on boot images. I'm going to add boot image, and I'm going to point to that folder where I just copied it. So I go to this PC, my image storage, my image copy. There's my boot.wim. Click open, next, and I can give it a name. Well, I think Microsoft Windows Setup x64, that's self-explanatory. I'm just going to leave that name to the way it is and click next, next. Should take just a few moments to install that boot image. There it goes, and we're just about done, and we're done. Okay, so now we have the ability to pixie boot to the server, but there's nothing there yet. Let's see where our copy's at. Looks like perhaps it's done. Our copy's done. So now I can come over here to Windows Server. I can right click on that group and I can do install, add install image. And I'm going to browse to my install.wim, open, next. You'll notice there's all 4 of those images that I was talking about. Server Standard Core, Server Standard, Server Data Center Core, Data Center. We're going to uncheck Standard for both, and I'm going to add just a desktop experience. You know what? Actually, I'm going to add both. Let me think about this for a second. You know what? If I deploy, I've got some core systems out here. If I deploy any more servers, they're going to be core. I'm going to click and uncheck and only add Data Center Core. We'll click next, and right there we can see the name of it, next, and it's going to add that image. What it's doing is it's picking those binaries that are required for Data Center Core. Just going to let this finish. As you can see, it's not going to take too long. Now if I add the Windows 10 eval DVD that I have, that ISO, you'll see that same structure. The sources folder, here again we're going to have a boot.wim, we're going to have an install.wim. There, it's finished. And there I can see my server core that's available. I'm going to go back to my settings for my virtual machine, and I'm going to change the DVD. I'm going to select this Windows 10 eval. And here again, I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to rename install.wim. I'm going to call it server install, because I want to differentiate between my 2 different versions, right? Because they're both going to be install.wim. So if I go to this PC, I go to the drive. No, I don't want to. I just want to open it. There we go. Go to sources, scroll down to install, and there it is. See, same naming. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go over here, paste. It's going to take just a few seconds. Looks like we got about 20 seconds left. I'm going to pause the video for a moment while that finishes. And now we're back. Okay, so there's our install.wim for desktop. So I'm going to rename it Win10 install. Name doesn't matter, right? I'm going to select my Windows 10 image group, right click, add install image. I'm going to browse to it, Win10 install, open, next. There's my Windows 10 enterprise evaluation. Next, next. And now it's adding that. Now, when we boot, by default, when we add an image, there's a value that's added, a numerical value that allows us to place an order of how those images appear numerically or sequentially. The first image that I install, actually every image you install has the same value. We need to be able to differentiate that. So think of a list. And typically when we create a list, we number it from the top down, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. The lower the number, the higher up on the list it is shown. So you can see here, priority 50,000. That's the default. And you look over here, Windows Server, same priority. If we pixie boot, we want to be able to differentiate maybe which one of those is shown. We can also right-click on it and disable it so it does not appear. Not too worried about right now. I'm going to go to Properties for Windows Server, and I'm going to change that priority to 40,000. So now it will appear first on the list. Just that easy. I've got my boot image, I've got my install images, but I've not done anything with them yet. But we're ready to go. Just that quickly, we're ready to go. So I'm going to create another virtual machine. I'm going to see if I can get my Pixie to work. Now I've not done an auto unattend, so this is going to be all manual intervention. That'll be for another video. I just want to verify that my system's working. So I'm going to go over here. Let's take a look. New, virtual machine, next. And I'm just going to call it test core deploy. See if it works. Be generation 2. Leave that alone. We're on our subnet 1, which is, where are we at? Final subnet 1, right there. We're going to create a, this is core, it doesn't need to be a very big drive. We'll give it 40 gig. Next, we're going to install from a network-based installation server. We're not going to install it from ISO. Next and finish. Now, one last thing that I want to do, let's see, where did it go? There's my core. You know what? I'm going to rename that, and I'm going to call it Final Test Core Deploy. That way, it'll appear up here in my order. One thing I want to do here before I fire it up is I'm going to go to checkpoints, and I'm going to turn off the use of those automatic checkpoints. I'm going to limit this thing to 4 gig of RAM, just in case it wants to run wild. You never know. Double click to connect. Let's see if it works. We're going to start. Cross your fingers. Don't see anything happening yet. Come on, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen, or do I have to go back to the drawing board? Anticipation, right? And I'm beginning to wonder if it's not going to connect. Should. Nope, didn't like it. A boot image was not found. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off. So I've got some troubleshooting to do. So I'm not going to waste your time in the video while I fumble around looking at things. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to pause the video and determine exactly what step I missed, because that's probably what it was, right? I mean, let's be truthful. It's usually human error that causes things to break. We'll take a look, and when I come back, I'll let you know what I found. Okay, that took me all of 10 seconds. When I did my setup, remember I said don't respond to any client computers? What would that cause? Not to respond to any client computers. You know what? Since we're in a test environment, I'm going to check off respond to all client computers, but I am going to also check off require administrator approval. That's going to mean that I have to come back. It should connect, but then I should have to come back to my WDS and approve it for it to install. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go back to my virtual machine, which I closed. Bring it back up. Let's see if it responds now. Hope. Come on. Hey, there it is. Yes. Okay. Press enter for network boot service. So you can. Hey, I didn't like that. Let's restart. We're going to shut this thing down, turn it off, restart it. Let's see what's going on here. Come on, give me an IP address. There we go. Okay, it's waiting. So I'm going to come back over here to my WDS machine. If I look over here, pending devices, there's my pending. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to approve it. Successfully approved. I'm going to go back over here, and I should see it change from waiting to approval here in just a few moments. There we go. And there's my boot.wim. There's my Windows pre-installation environment coming up. Now by default, if I just let this set here, see, it automatically just rolled right into it. Setup is starting. Like I said, everything's going to be manual. I did not do an auto unattend. We'll take a look at that in a different video. I'm going to click next. Hey, who's got the authorization to do this? So if I go to, let's see, it's project / my credentials. Now it asks, hey, which do you want to install? Do you want to do data center? Do you want to do eval? Well, we're going to do data center core. I'm going to click next. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Let me think about that for a second. You know what? I want to be able to have Windows 10 machine that I can use to manage the network. So we're going to set up Windows 10. We're going to create that image for Windows 10. We're going to create it, and then we're going to go to WDS in our next video, configure WDS to deploy updates to Windows 10, and then we'll get that fully updated. Then we're going to sysprep that Windows 10. Once we've got it built the way we want it, maybe we install like Notepad++ or something like that, you know, some applications, Adobe Read, whatever. We'll sysprep it, copy it to our WDS, and then use that to deploy our use image. So we'll call it, you know, our production image. Next. Where do we want to put it? We could specify here again. In our auto unattend, we can specify how to partition that drive. 40 gigs should be fine for my Windows installation. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Remember, that's all I specified for this drive or this particular virtual machine. It's not really big enough, especially if we're going to start doing things with it. But just to deploy it and then sysprep it, we should be fine. This is going to take a little bit of time because this is the same situation we would face if we were doing this from DVD or from ISO or however else. So rather than sitting here watching the installation take place, I know it's engaging. Nah. I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back once we're done with our install and we're getting ready to reboot and get our Windows 10 system up and running. All right? Sound like a plan? I'll be back with you before you know it. Okay, so finally, after about 5 minutes, seemed like 5 hours, doesn't always, right? We're ready to start configuring our Windows 10. Yes, I'm in the United States. Oh, just a moment more. Okay, yes, keyboard layout is correct. I'm not doing a second keyboard. We can just skip that. I'm just pressing enter. I don't need to use the mouse. And connect to a network. Well, there's my network, right? Don't tell me I don't have any internet. We're connected. We've got routers. Interesting. Okay, you know what? I don't care. I don't have internet. You don't like it? So what? We'll connect with limited setup, and we'll accept the license agreement. And who's going to use it? Just user, right? Got to give it a password. Okay, great. I'm just going to use my default password. They want me to confirm it, and then they're going to ask us a whole bunch of silly questions, like, what was your first pet's name? Well, keep it simple, pet. What was the city you were born in? I was born in city. And what was your childhood nickname? It was nickname. Yeah. This is just production environment. If you're doing this for real, use those questions as a way to recover your account. Privacy, we're just going to accept those. Cortina, we're not going to say we don't want Cortina right now. And hopefully, we'll be done. And no. Now it has to create the user account for us. We're getting everything ready, so here again, I'm going to pause the video because you don't need to sit through this. I may need to, but you don't. We'll be back as soon as this is done and we actually have a working environment. Okay, we're back up, and here is our Windows 10 eval. We're going to go ahead, we'll use our enhanced session. Remember, that allows you to copy and paste, do lots of good stuff. And we'll go ahead and we'll get logged in. And we've got Windows 10. Now remember, we're not going to do a whole lot more with this right now because of the fact that we want to be able to set up Windows Update services. Windows license is expired, so this doesn't see that. If you see that when you're using Windows 10 eval, if you see Windows 10 license is expired when it first connects, it's because it doesn't have a connection to the internet, which is kind of interesting because we should, right? Let's take a quick look. ipconfig/all. There's our IP address. There's our default gateway. There's our DHCP server. There's our DNS. Can I ping 192.168.1.1? I sure can. How about, can I ping the other router? I need to take a look at my router. So here again, this is why we do our learn our readiness. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Why is that other one turned off? That shouldn't be turned off. First off, let's find out why we don't have a connection to the internet, because we should. Looks like our routing is up. Or is it? Let's take a look here. External, I've got an IP address. Well, when in doubt, let's restart our routing. While that happens, I bet you I can tell you, I bet you I know exactly what's going on with this. For some reason, this server thinks that its eval license has expired. And what you'll experience is that they will shut down after a certain period of time. 99% sure that that's what I'm going to see. Yep, right there. License is expired. See it right down there, right corner? Now, how do we rectify that? I am going to right-click. I'm going to go to an admin command prompt, and I'm going to type in the following. In fact, I'm going to make this a little bit larger. Properties, I'm going to make my font a little bit larger, make it easier for you to see here. Hey, what? Okay, oh, that was unusual. Okay, slmgr.vbs, server license manager, /rearm. Successful. And then I'm going to tell it to reboot. Shut down, -restart, -T for time in 0 seconds. Restart now. Back over here, I've restarted my router. Let's take a look. I'm still not getting a connection to the internet. That's odd. Let's take a look here. My license is good here. Why? We need to get this rectified, right? Subnet 1 when external not connected. Why would this be? Network cable unplugged. Oh! Because my system is currently in a different room. So I located a nice long network cable. So I've got my wired connection back. As we can see, I did get an IP address from Broward Schools, and my Windows 10 machine, if I come back over here, it should now be able to, 1, ping my other router because it's up and running, 2, reach my router, and 3, be able to ping an external such as Google DNS. And there it is. Now we've got connectivity. So I'm going to tell this to restart, and when it restarts, that expired eval may go away. If not, I'll just reset it using the slmgr. Okay, so that's our deployment using Windows deployment services at its most basic. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the video. And you can see here we're back up. Let's just take a quick look, see whether or not we got our license terms back for the 90 days or not. Might have to do a slmgr. Get used to using that. If you're working in a test environment, be comfortable. Remember that. Write it down. Record that. Keep that because you're going to use it. Yeah, see, it still says license expired. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, nope, there it changed. It updated. It saw the connection to the internet. Windows Server we can use in a test environment without a connection to the internet, and that eval period will run. If this Windows 10 Enterprise eval doesn't have an internet connection, it's always going to say expired. All right, that's it for this video. It's actually a little bit longer video than what I anticipated. We're already up over 42 minutes. I'm going to edit maybe a little bit out, whatever, but we're going to pick this up, and the next video will be WSUS in how we can deploy updates to our systems. And then we'll follow that up with creating our golden image in a subsequent video. So we're going to have a bunch more videos here. And in fact, little teaser here, if you stayed to the end, I'm also going to do MDT, the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, at the very end to customize our deployment environment. All right, that's it for this video. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody.